Ladies and gentlemen, my name's Paul, and in this Gaming Telecom video we're going to be discussing and analysing tech news which, as usual, has popped up over the past 24 or so hours. We're going to be starting things out with Nvidia and the Volta architecture. There has been a leak to tell us that Nvidia are working on what is known as RTX technology, which will offer real-time graphical effects and, perhaps keyly, will indeed be optimized for Volta. So we'll get into that leak in a minute. Then we'll move over to Intel because the company are going to be implementing hardware fixes for Spectre and Meltdown in its upcoming CPUs, which will be the 8th generation. And then we will finish the video off with Microsoft, because the company are planning for a future that is not just Xbox when it comes to gaming. And indeed, they are planning to embrace 2 billion plus gamers with, wait for it, that's right, the cloud. Starting things out with Nvidia and the Volta-based architecture, there is a very interesting rumour going around currently regarding an announcement which supposedly will be made on Monday. This involves Nvidia partnering with Microsoft to basically release a new updated set of GameWorks features, which, according to these rumours, will indeed be optimised for Volta. Now, whether this means that you're going to get major slowdowns on older generation graphics processors, for example, let's say Pascal, we don't know yet, of course, but what we do know is, once again, the slide does tell us highly optimized for Volta. So what type of effects do we get? Well, I'm going to read out just a couple of them. It's real time, so that means we get glossy reflections, area shadows, ambient occlusions, and this is all thanks to advanced ray tracing.
With this joint collaboration between Microsoft and Nvidia for the new API for RTX, we will also see major games engines support this technology. This includes, so far confirmed, Unreal Engine, Unity and Frostbite. Along with this, we also have 3 developers: EA, Remedy and 4A Games, which means that in theory at least, well, the new Metro is going to look really, really nice. And given that the technology is currently available in early access, we should see titles coming out, for example, a new Metro looking absolutely amazing and probably being the first to sport this new technology. The slide, which videocards.com have managed to nab, tells us that all of this technology is the result of 10 years of graphics algorithms and GPU architectures, highly optimized ray tracing technology on Volta GPUs, and is partnered with Microsoft to enable DirectX ray tracing, API and RTX. I do wonder if other API providers, for example Kronos with Vulkan, is also going to be a thing. But if you want more information on this, do stick around on Red Gaming Tech on Monday, and of course we will completely and utterly cover the announcement.
So the big piece of news Intel have unveiled is that the 14nm refresh of the current Skylake X architecture known as Cascade Lake will indeed have hardware fixes built right into the silicon. This protects against one variant of Spectre and, of course, Meltdown.
Things are more ambiguous, however, when it comes to the mainstream side of things. So far, once again, Cascade Lake, which will be found, of course, in Xeon chips and the new HEDT chips from Intel, those have been confirmed, but mainstream is less clear. Is it going to be, for example, embedded in Cannonlake, or are we going to have to wait perhaps even longer? The other question, of course, is there going to be some way to identify which chips do have this mitigation built in, or are we just going to need to know? I would imagine for the mainstream side of things anyway, it's possible that some vendors may market some pre-built systems, in other words OEM vendors, on the fact that they are safe from Meltdown. But Spectre is a bit of a different beast. There are 2 different variants of Spectre. And getting back to what I mentioned just a few moments ago, Meltdown and Spectre variant 2, which by the way is branch target injection, they will have mitigation built into hardware. However, the bounds check bypass will have it purely in software. Unsurprisingly, Intel are also somewhat cagey on how this works. They have simply said that there is a new partitioning system in place, and this improves the process and privilege level separation. So things right now are still somewhat up in the air, but it is good that Intel are implementing these fixes. To be honest with you, I didn't expect some of these hardware fixes to start to become a thing until possibly next year, so, you know, kudos to Intel for actually getting these out ahead of schedule.
Once again, to get back to the software side of things, just for a moment, we currently have Sandy Bridge that has been patched, and Intel are even working on 45nm processors, which would date back even to the Core 2, which, to their credit, once again, is actually pretty good from a hardware/PR perspective. But of course, the support of Cascade Lake is certainly something that is going to play on the mind of a lot of folks who were perhaps working in data centers and considering an upgrade anyway. It's going to be that extra, I guess, bells and whistles. Are Microsoft going to be abandoning physical Xbox consoles and shifting their focus purely to cloud-based gaming? Well, unlikely in my opinion. I think at least for the next generation of games consoles, Microsoft is still going to want a physical presence, but that isn't to say that the company don't want to also embrace the cloud. In fact, according to the company, they want to target up to 2 billion cloud gamers.
So the report that Microsoft want to push into the cloud originates from an interview with The Verge, where Kareem Chowdhury, who has been with Microsoft 20 years and has worked on Outlook, DirectX and Xbox engineering, has told us, and I quote, "Phil really wanted a dedicated team focused exclusively on cloud gaming. Those conversations that started happening last summer, and we really started creating the structure of the organization at the end of last year." Now, this is not a pipe dream, by the way. You've already have Ubisoft signing in to the Club Microsoft team and utilizing their Azure cloud services. And Chowdhury continues by saying that we believe there is going to be 2 billion gamers in the world, and our goal is to reach every one of them. We're really pleased with the success that's happening with Game Pass, and we continue to believe in user choice, and we believe that there's a room in the industry for gaming subscription, and that's what we're going to build. Yes, that's right, it's going to essentially be a Netflix for video games. Now, what I'm about to say is a hefty dose of opinion. This is not confirmation from Microsoft, but no, I don't feel that this is going to be the end of the Xbox brand with a physical system. I just don't think that's going to happen. At the end of the day, though, Microsoft are a business, and they do see that cloud gaming has a future. I don't necessarily think in the next 3 to 5 years it's going to replace physical gaming. That's a slightly different video, and we could argue the pros and cons of that, but for the next 3 to 5 years, I don't think a physical console where you can play it locally is going anywhere. So I do feel, of course, we've already got the rumours that the PlayStation 5 is well underway with development, and we covered those about a week ago or something like that. And I do feel that the Xbox is pretty much the same thing, that Microsoft want a physical system in the home. However that looks, whether it's going to be a vastly more powerful system than, let's say, the current Scorpio, or whether it's more akin to, let's say, the Nintendo Switch, which is also possible. Perhaps it'll be a halfway house between the Scorpio and the, let's say, the Switch, where it has the ability to, say, stream games on the go. So, for example, in a portable type of setting, but it can dock. And when it's docked, it has access to considerably more GPU performance. Perhaps it has additional processors in the dock. Once again, these are not rumours. These are not things that have been confirmed by industry sources. This is simply me speculating and saying that this is one possible direction that Microsoft could go. At the end of the day, Microsoft have been buying a lot of companies. Which companies? Well, they bought Simply Gone in 2017, PlayFab earlier this year, and of course Havoc, which was probably one of their biggest acquisitions back in 2015. And I'm going to shock you here. Well, I'm not really going to shock you. Microsoft have more money than Sony. They are absolutely cash loaded. How much cash? Well, there are 5 major cash hoarders in the United States. This is according to CNN, but you can get the report pretty much anywhere. Actually, I thought of this stuff a few days ago because one of my friends just happens to actually be investing in stock, and he has just bought a whole bunch of Apple stock. Now, Apple have cash reserves of 246.1, can't forget the 0.1 billion US dollars. Microsoft have 131.2 billion dollars in their piggy bank. I just want to repeat that, 131.2 billion. That dwarfs Apple. Sorry, that dwarfs Google. Google in their cash reserves have 86.3 billion. Now, I want to put that into some level of context. That means that they can buy Sony several times over. No, I'm not saying they would buy Sony. No, I'm not saying Sony would sell. But I'm simply saying that they have so much cash, so much resources, that quite honestly, them being outsold by Sony is not a big deal in the short term. They want to build and continue to build an ecosystem, the brand of Xbox. They lose 50 million, 100 million US dollars. Oh well. Their Azure services and other software such as Microsoft Office is up. I won't read out the numbers because you can see them on screen, but my point being, if they lose a couple of billion in the short term over the next several years competing against Sony in the hardware side of things, well, they can afford to do it. That's not to say they will. Microsoft could, once again, decide to go purely for a cloud-based solution and let the Xbox fade away into obscurity, but my bet is that they're not going to do that.
Hopefully you have enjoyed the video. Normal stuff, like, share, comment, subscribe, and I will see you soon. Take care of yourselves. Bye for now.